Whether you're new to pool and practicing the basics, or a more experienced player performing drills to improve your shot making and positional play, the Drill Partner is perfect.
Welcome back to another edition of Dogging It. Michael Pinozzo, Hall of Famer. Does that ever get old? Has it gotten old so far?
No, you're your first person who ever said
That's true. That's absolutely true. How are you, man?
My wife has yet to pull that one
I
out.
saw your during the holidays. You're wearing the green jacket while you were just hanging around the house. So it was
I was making
a
ravioli.
nice Pinozzo touch there for sure.
Yeah, I was making ravioli wearing my jacket.
I wouldn't expect anything less from you, my man. I'd go to the gas station, but with that thing on for sure. Mike, it is Derby City time. Are you excited about Derby? Are you looking forward to it at all?
We're both not.
I am not there. No, not yet. Anyway, although I'm not sure if I'm even going to be there, Mike. I'm still. It's the first day of Banks. I'm kind of still on the fence. I'll be honest.
It's an emotional struggle, actually getting up the courage to go down there.
It's very much a love-hate relationship that I have with Derby City. No doubt about it. Yeah. But you know what? It's interesting because now that everything's kind of like going underway now, I'm kind of like I'm feeling a little left out. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm like, man, maybe I should get on up there. So we'll see. If I do go, I'll probably end up going with my buddy James in the next couple of days. So my buddy Hanshu, I'm probably gonna drive up there, although reluctantly, I'm deciding on that. So that's part of the struggle that I'm having right now, though. So we'll see. But Banks are underway. Bigfoot is underway. The first match is actually playing right now. I think you guys can check it out on accustats.com. I want to start off, Mike, by just saying kudos at first to the Derby City team, because it looks like they finally, so far this year, have gotten their shit together where they're coming into the modern world. Live scoring is happening right now, and you can actually track the live scoring when it comes to Banks on digitalpool.com as well. So pretty cool there, Mike.
And cameras on all 48 tables, and
yeah, something like that. I mean, I know they got their digital pool syndicate team that they've had going on over the last year or so. We did it last year with Joey. But to be honest, it left. I'll let that be. I'll let that be. Let's say the experience with some people there wasn't necessarily the best.
Well, you just hope they improve every year, right?
Yeah, that's all you can ask for. I mean, you don't want to go and shit on anyone just over and over again.
Right.
You all right, babe? Yeah.
It's tough to go from 0 tables to 48 in a year.
Yeah.
Or 1 table to 48 in a year. So we'll cut them some slack and see what they come up with.
Yeah.
Bigfoot. Interesting lineup in Bigfoot, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm going to bring up the bracket right now. You guys can check that out on digitalpool.com. We're going to kind of run through some of these matches as well. But yeah, if you want to go through the players list to start off with, Mike, it is interesting for sure. The more notable, I don't know if you guys can even see that, but one of the notable players who isn't there, which is surprising, is Jason Shaw, Mike.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Jason, is he going at all?
He's there I want to say he's playing he's playing Banks and but he's been a favor before. I want to say he's even won Bigfoot in years past, Mike. That's the reason why I was kind of surprised. There's a few names that kind of stand out for me, Mike, on this players list, but the return of Ruslan comes to mind. Gerson being in there, Vitaliy joining in, which you can understand that one. Chris Reinhold making an appearance, Mike. Sure. I'm scratching my head at that one, if I'm being perfectly honest with you.
Well, I mean, every year they've got a name in there where you're like, the years it was Max Eberle, Chris Reinhold, people like that. But it's giving everybody a shot. They got to fill the field. So
Max was busting some brackets the last time he was up there. I remember because I think I bet on him spotting a game or something, or even a couple of games, and I think he won outright on the money line. And Bigfoot's always been like that kind of like all bets are off kind of tournament. Although, the favorite ends up winning, I feel like at the very end of at
Closer
the
to
end of the
that.
tournament. But as far as like within the bracket itself, it's like you can have some upsets here or there.
Yeah, there's some good matchups. I mean, Josh coming in, the first thing he's got to do is fade Jeff DeLuna. That's got to be fun.
Well, I think you still got to like um, uh, Josh's chances there. At least I would. Anyway.
I'm just talking about from the entertainment value of any kind of match with Jeff DeLuna is usually includes a little bit of drama.
That's not just style, Mike. I don't know what you're talking about. That's hearsay. All right.
So Josh gonna have to be on top of his mental game right out of the gate. Tyler against Moritz is a kind of an interesting matchup.
There's a few of them in there, Mike. Right now, you got Pius against Fedor is a really interesting matchup. Rematch. Well, not a rematch. I think it was they played late. I want to say last year of Derby City 9-ball, Mike. So they meet a year later, and now here they are in the first round of the Bigfoot. And this is like what I've loved about Bigfoot over the years is that you can get some really premier matchups right out of the gate, and there really isn't, any chalk. At least in years past. This year, I wouldn't go that far, because there's some matches where I'm like, I'm really disinterested in watching them, if I'm being honest with you, Mike. But it's more of just like it doesn't make sense, but there's also some players who aren't there who we're used to seeing there, like the Spaniards, amongst others. Some Polish players aren't there as well, Mike. So there's some guys we've seen over the years who are missing from this field that I really enjoy watching them play every year, Mike. So it's a bit of a surprise.
Right. So it's always fun to get new faces in there, see if anybody, pulls off a surprise or makes a deep run. You got Lee Van in there, who's always a threat.
Sneaky good is Lee Van, Mike. Consistently good.
Yeah, he's just great.
What do you think about Josh being back at the Derby, Mike?
A little bit surprised, to be honest with you. I guess he just likes, the action, likes the master of the table chase. A
lot of drama last year for the master of the table, for the master of the table, Mike.
There was, there usually is. So, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised. You just kind of, it's January and he doesn't have anything else to do, kind of approach.
He didn't want to hang out at the house, is what you're saying, Mike.
Well, it's been a while since anybody's hit a ball. So I'm sure he just wants to get in the action, get loosened up, get a little, tournament sharp a little bit, start to get ready for the year.
I remember last year late in the 9-ball where it was close between, I want to say, Josh and Fedor for master of the table, and then Jason breaks down his cue, if I'm not mistaken, and I want to say it was during the 9-ball, and concedes the match. Lots of drama there, with Fedor's team calling out Jay as far as giving Fedor a walk for master of the table and things like that. And this is like tempers kind of run a little short there, Mike, because you're playing long nights, it's early mornings, it's very chaotic at times, to say the least.
Yeah, no, it's it's a crazy thing to fade. Is the all the events there, so it's just a lot going on.
A few comments in the chat there,
but
go ahead, Mike.
No, I was saying, going back to Josh, I mean, there's really, there's nothing in January or February to really speak of, WPA wise and in his instance and WNT wise. So kind of not surprised that they're all here.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, the guy almost won everything last year, but we all know like the hit that he's taken over the last whatever it is, 6 months or so, 8 months online on social media because of some of his choices that he's made and things like that. And so for him finally coming back to the States, I'm curious to see what, just in a normal year, right? He's always been kind of teetering that line as far as being like a fan favorite versus being, the first guy that people love to hate. Just
Yeah.
because of Mosconi Cup, but it feels like everything that's gone on has kind of elevated some or hit a different gear as far as that love-hate relationship. So yeah, I mean, we'll see. And I'm gonna try to talk to Josh whenever I get out there. I don't know how successful I'm gonna be in that regard, but I'm gonna give it a swing, Mike. So we'll see.
Yeah, he was in Florida for the international, and so he weathered that storm. There was some weird vibes with him and some of the other guys, and but nothing that was noteworthy. So yeah, I'm glad he's there. I'm sure everybody loves playing him. So
well, he picked up a nice
yeah,
chunk of change last year too, and so I think
yeah,
personally I love watching his all around game as I'm watching Roberto almost scratch on the 9 ball here. I love watching his all around game, Mike. He's a threat in every single division that he enters into. I love watching him play banks. He's an absolute sharpshooter. And I think like him being so young and really having developed into such a strong all around player, it really makes this event for me watching him just absolutely premiere for me, Mike. And we know it's going
yeah.
to be, probably like a 4 or 5 man race. Maybe when it comes to mash the table, Fedor comes to mind. SVB is going to be threatening that. Maybe a Mickey could threaten that as well, given the way that he's kind of been projecting. It might be a bit of a dark horse in that aspect, Mike. But
Lee Van's usually up there.
yeah, I just think like it's really interesting over like how the last 5-10 years have gone, where it was a lot of Filipinos who have always been that threat, right? The Efren and Bustamanis
Comedy,
and guys like that. And I'm kind of hard pressed to, yeah,
Piccolo.
Dennis, of course. I mean, we certainly miss Dennis at Derby City for a number of different reasons, not just his play during the tournament, but also for him staying in the grease the way that he does and willing to play
Yeah.
everyone. But it feels different for sure. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna probably head over there in another day or so, but I don't know, Mike. Derby City, it's like I'm just I don't know, man.
Yeah, someone said, "What's some good advice for a first timer going to Derby?" I would say a hazmat suit, a lot of
Yeah,
vitamin C, and gloves,
you got to figure out
and
which
and
which
stay in a hotel. Stay in a hotel elsewhere, and bring your own food.
bring your own food is certainly a good one.
Other than
Yeah.
that,
Well, you got to
yeah,
figure out what shift you're going to be
um,
on, Mike, because Derby City truly is a 24-hour circus for the better part of whatever it is, 10 days or so, Mike. Which I mean, it's brutally long. I
yeah,
mean,
that's all day.
you know, and so you got to figure out if you're going to be on the night shift, which is more the gambling side of things, or if you're going to be on the day shift or the tournament side. Last year, I certainly floated around the tournament scene a lot more than I did in the evening, but um, you get I guess the best of both worlds while you're there. It brings out all
Yeah,
the degenerates, but seeing some of the players who are on
there's
there, I'm noticing a lot of guys who aren't there, and so that kind of I don't know, Mike.
yeah. Well, there's still a lot of good players there, and there's a lot of action, a lot of matches. So it's 31 flavors. There's something for everybody when you're there. So um, you know, there's plenty to do, and there are a lot of players missing. But then, if you really pared it down, you would get 10 maybe of the top 24 guys, something like that, and it would be kind of change from year to year. But that's essentially what you'd get out of it. So this year, a little thin this year, but
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not seeing,
yes,
the Austrians aren't here, amongst
right.
others, the Spaniards aren't here. Kachi
They were
guys like
always
that.
kind of they were always kind of hit or they were always kind of hit or miss. They didn't come every year, right? A lot of them would come a year, miss a couple of years, come again, miss a year, that type of thing. So it's not like these guys were lifers for Derby
No, but
City.
I guess like if you were to go and look, Derby City fancies, it's like it has this personality complex, where it's like, are they a professional tournament versus being, just an Iron
Is it
Man
a major like
division? Well, this has always been the lifelong debate here between us, Mike. And
I don't
look,
think anybody's
I love
arguing
it's
that second debate anymore.
yeah, I baited you into that one, that's for sure. No, I feel like we always kind of have this discussion when it comes to Derby City, but look, it certainly has its own charm. I love how and again, and I think we'll jump into this already, but I think we're going to have another strong showing of young Europeans who are going to be dominating this year versus like the usual suspects, Filipinos, maybe a surprise American here or there, but
Yeah.
it certainly has changed the way that it's been not just delivered to the fans at home, um, but the caliber of players and the depth of the field when it comes to the players who are actually attending. Surprisingly,
Yeah.
they put a cap this year, I guess, for scheduling purposes, which is good, So hopefully there's no like shit shows when it comes to, and they added a day as well, so that helps out, so or we'll see if it helps out, I should say.
I don't know if the cap really reduced the size of many fields. There's kind of a time limit, but there's an interesting question. I don't know if you saw what Del Sim asked. Do you think Derby City would be a better event later in the year? I think absolutely not. What do you think?
I'm curious how the hell these people manage it with
Lost you. Yeah, come on, because I know you were about to say something profound. I don't know. My thought is, no, definitely not later in the year. Later in the year, second half of the year, especially the third, especially the fourth quarter, gets really hectic with the pro events all around the world. So I think you'd have a lot of people not going to this because they're not going to spend 10, 12 days killing themselves in banks in one pocket and all these other events while the Hanoi Opens the following week, or the U.S. Open is 2 weeks before, or something like that. I don't see that being a benefit. I think it being in January, mid to late January, when there's nothing else going on, really is conducive to getting decent players there, and they'll always fill up the field. I think that it's nothing wrong with it where it is right now.
Can you hear me now, Mike? How's my audio coming in?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I couldn't
Can hear it now.
agree with you more, and it's kind of got this like granddad type vibe where everyone kind of respects where it's at on the calendar and they're used to it, and they don't
you don't mess with that time.
You don't. Yeah. And I mean, you're going to get, it's always going to have its own charm in place in the pool world. It being in Louisville, in January, you know what I mean? I'm cold just thinking about it. But it is a great event to go and attend if you've never been. Like I said, it can kind of wear on you over the years,
Yeah.
and kind of, if the schedule was better, it could certainly be just an absolute dream. For right now, it can be a bit of a nightmare at times as well. But it's just depending on how you balance yourself while you're out there at Derby City, because it's nonstop. I mean, there's matches going on 24/7 from 9 a.m. until 11, 12 o'clock at night, and then the action starts up, and then it's like, it had been a little light over the years when it comes to action, but who knows? It may pick up again this year. So we'll see.
Yeah. A lot of good questions.
Yeah, I see Ed's on there. Let's see if we can bring up the chat here.
Centralization of Derby streaming will help or hurt the event's popularity. I think it's got to help. The more people can watch it, it's not a huge draw for paid attendance. The paid attendance are all the people who play, because it's actually cheaper to just go ahead and enter and then stick around and watch. So they don't get a lot of paid. So more eyeballs, more interest. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Well, I think that helps out the sponsors for sure, which is a big part in keeping this tournament alive. Obviously, getting more eyes on their advertising and things like that's always going to be important. Like, if everything goes the way that it's supposed to, which it never does, then for sure it can be a home run. Like the at-home experience is going to be massive. Now, how that reflects into people attending, I don't think it'll really have too much of an effect because it's usually a bunch of diehards who go anyway.
Yeah, they're going.
Yeah, and you've been planning for this, for a while.
Nobody goes there
so
because they can't watch it at home on TV.
yeah.
So
I mean, look, the cool thing about it is like it doesn't matter what part of the day. There's always something going on. There's always a good matchup. I think right now it's like Lucas and Fedor playing in the first round of Banks, which is great. And there's been a couple of matchups already that have been kind of interesting outside of the Bigfoot, which takes like center stage in that TV arena for the first few days. But it's Derby City. It's part of the grind. Like I said, hopefully we'll be out there. I don't know if you'll be out there, but I think I'll be out there in the next couple of days. So we shall see. But let's jump on into the Bigfoot. The Bigfoot, Mike. It comes along, I guess, 3 times a year now, 2 times a year.
there's got some big feet out there. The International does it. Derby does it. And what was the third one last year?
What was it? I thought it was something else, Mike. I don't know. Who the hell knows? First matchup on the live stream, Mike. I saw a minute ago Mickey was up on Roberto 7-5 or something like that. Give me your thoughts on that matchup, Mike. This is the kickoff Derby City Bigfoot Challenge.
Roberto's a great player and does well at this event often, but you're not too smart right now if you're betting against Mickey in any match because he's found his groove. This is his time. Whatever cliches you want to use, he's someone you just don't want to bet against right now.
When you think about 10 ball, Mike, the first thing that comes to mind is having that big break, and so whenever you lose that, then it's always going to be a struggle. And Roberto's been known to go deep in this event before in years past, but he can make some mistakes at times as well, and so for me, I would have thought going into it, this is about as close to even money as you can ask for from a gambling standpoint, just because of like you said,
because Roberto,
Well, I mean, you got a guy with history versus a guy like Mickey, like you said, who is playing some phenomenal pool right now. And outside of the wheels really coming off at the Mosconi Cup for him, throughout the year, he's been extremely centered, Mike, and he doesn't really look too uncomfortable when it comes to the moment. Does Mickey, and he's been just like strong and steady, Mike, and you don't really give him maybe the respect that he deserves, like as a pool community, you know what I mean? But Mickey's just earning his place one tournament at a time in that elite kind of category.
No, he's I posted something the other day. Get used to seeing his name near the end of a lot of tournaments because he's not a fly-by-night guy. He's worked and earned his way to this point. And I don't think he's going to give it up anytime soon.
Well, there's a lot of things that play to his advantage in that regard, Mike. I mean, he's young, he ain't got no kids. He's just traveling the world playing pool and doesn't really have a whole lot of things like pool rooms or, like you see other pool players as far as responsibilities like a Jason, you know what I mean? Or maybe like an Oscar type player, which just, he eats, sleeps, breathes pool, and plays.
And he's willing to put in the time, and get uncomfortable. He's willing to, not only he's not worried about going back to Denmark. He's happy going to the Philippines and spending 6 weeks, so things like that. So that's the type of, dedication and drive that you need. And he's all about it.
Yeah, you really got to admire and respect that kind of work ethic, Mike, and especially like it's one thing when it doesn't pay off, but it's cool seeing it whenever it does for these guys, and so he's been cutting his teeth. He's been playing any and every one. He's been playing all games. You see him go deep in mini derby in the one pocket, which you wouldn't consider Mickey, a strong one pocket player, but there was a time that we didn't consider Fedor a strong one pocket player or, Filler a strong one pocket player. Yeah. And so, but you know that right now,
Listen, if you're a great player, you'll
yeah, and
adapt.
he's just a sponge right now, Mike.
You know, it may take you a little time to figure it out, but once you figure it out, you're a great player.
Well, and this is where like the absence of Efren and Dennis and I know Bustamani's there, which I'm excited to see him play some one pocket this year. But like these guys who we've been used to
Alex.
seeing over the years, I don't know if Scott's playing the one pocket, guys like that. It's like you know, seeing this young new style of one pocket emerge has been fun because you get to see these guys who have a great cue ball, who bank the ball well, who are very sharp, go deep in this tournament, and so I'm excited to see him. Here he is playing Roberto in the first match of the Bigfoot. I guess ahead of time, I probably would have taken Mickey. I know he was up, like I said a little bit ago, but you would have liked your side either way. I feel like, and from what I saw of this matchup, Mike, Roberto made a lot of mistakes early on. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know how they're doing right now though.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because on digital pool, the live scoring it's not updated, so it still shows it
Yeah,
0-0.
let me see if I can bring it up here. I saw it just a little bit ago. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know why they don't do that. They live score everything else. It's interesting why they don't do that one. But anyhow, um, second matchup on deck, Mike. Chris Reinhold against the Styer, Lee Van Corteza. Give me your radar gun on that matchup, Mike.
It's a speeding ticket for Lee Van. I'm thinking,
You got to like his chances for sure, Mike.
I'm going to clock Lee Van at what are they racing to? 10 or 11 or
I think it's 11. You're paying $1,000 to get in, so I want to say it's 11. Yeah. This
yeah,
is Chris's
yeah.
maiden
I'm going to clock it about 11-4.
11-4. Wow, big heavy favorite for Lee Van. Well, here's a couple of things. It's alternate break for one, right? So and Lee Van's not known to have a big 10 ball break, but when you think about guys after the break, obviously you think about a guy like Justin Bergman, which I wish we would see him at Derby because we've been missing him playing some all around pool as well. But Lee Van is about as good as they come after the break. I don't think his 10 ball break is in that premier kind of status, Mike, for me, but he always seems to just grind his way through players and through tournaments. And it doesn't matter who he's playing against, whether it's the Chris Reinholds of the world or the Josh Fillers of the world. He can match up with anybody in most
Yeah,
matchups, Mike.
yeah, no, he's a guy that people they don't really sleep on him, but you go through most tournaments and you start clicking off your top 5, 6 names, and he's usually not one that pops right into your head,
Should
even though
be.
he should
Yeah.
be. Yeah, so I always like watching Lee Van play.
Chris Reinhold is I heard he's going to be using a new I don't know how to phrase it, a new tool out there during the Bigfoot. So you guys might want to check that out. My buddy Hanshu, um, being the mad scientist that he is, came up with a new product, and I want to say Chris is going to be debuting it in that matchup. That's going to be starting here, I think, in the next 45 minutes or so, which is kind of cool. Or actually, maybe they're a little
Okay,
bit late, actually, so they might have already started. Who the hell knows? But um,
so give us a little teaser. What are we looking at? I mean,
well,
a scope on the end of the cue. I mean, what do we got?
it helped. Let's see. It's you guys can go check out Handshoe Custom Cues. James has kind of been teasing it a little bit without giving the farm away. I think he wants to wait for the big debut during the match itself. But he's looking to, change the game a little bit like he's always done over the course of his career, whether it was a jump cue that he made years ago and now with this new product. And so I'm excited to see it on display. I've had it here at the house for I want to say a good month or so, 6 weeks, something like that. So I think you guys won't be disappointed when it comes to it. And so make sure and check that out if you're able to watch the live stream during that match with Lee. And what I will say is that it helps out with a guy like Chris, guy like me, where we're not the tallest guys in the neighborhood, and so it should certainly play or come into some use while you're out there playing pool. So
Lips for your
Yeah,
shoes. You got
it's the
lips.
Earl Strickland approach, Mike. But no, I'm with you when it comes to the matchup itself, Mike. I think Chris is really outgunned here. Levan is an absolute monster. Probably the most underrated player in my opinion in most tournaments. Because he doesn't really jump off the screen from you from like a known to be great at this or great at that, but his all around game is
He's
strong.
quiet. He's unassuming, and
Yeah.
it's just
I don't know if I would go 11-4. I'd probably go like in that 11-7 kind of range. I feel like Chris is going to have to make this like Max Eberle type run where he's going to have to really surprise you against a big tough name in order to come away with a win. I think if you come out the gate with that big like trying to do that pop 10 ball break, it's a gamble. And a lot of times you'll see in this tournament in particular where guys who know how to move a little bit better usually end up getting the better of it. That's why you'll see a guy like Alex really grind his way through a match and things like that. But look, Levan can beat you a lot of different ways. Chris is going to have to come with his A game. We haven't really seen him play a whole lot, like on the like with the bigger names. Mike, he hasn't really played like a ton of big tournaments, over the last year or so. Is that fair? And
no, that's
so
true.
we'll see how rusty he's going to be in that aspect as well. Plus playing on the TV table, plus the big buy-in, plus he's not known to have the biggest of 10 ball breaks. It's like the more you kind of try to analyze it, the more you think, this may not be such a good spot here for Chris. But moving along, Mike, you got Jeff DeLuna versus Josh Filler. Will be one of the last matchups of the day. Josh obviously having a bullseye on his back for being the defending champion, I want to say, of this tournament. And Jeff known to have a big break. What do you like in this matchup, Mike?
The kind of the mind game that kind of you get when you play Jeff, whether you talk yourself into it or whether it's real. There could be a couple entertaining moments in it. And Jeff will stick in there against most guys. I mean, he's got a great game. So, Josh to me is still, a pretty solid favorite, obviously. But it could be an entertaining match.
Yeah, I mean, look, Josh, although he's had success playing this tournament, you don't consider him an elite 10 ball breaker, right? But like I mentioned before, his all around game is going to favor him when it comes to decisions. Obviously, experience is massive for Josh here in this spot. Jeff, a bit of a surprise being in this tournament, but he is known to have that monster kind of break. So can it serve him well, even though it's going to be alternate break? We'll see. But you really got to like Josh in this spot. You really got to like Josh in that side of the bracket. You're hoping for a potential matchup with Mickey. The bottom half of the bracket, which
Mickey
we'll get to
Josh
here in just a minute, is going to be interesting. And I'm hoping that we get to kind of see this lot to be desired kind of matchup, whether it's a Josh versus Fedor down the road or a Josh versus Shane down the road. And I know we always hope for him. It doesn't usually happen that way. But given the way the last few months have gone, more than ever, Mike, I feel like I'm rooting to see Josh go deep and see a potential for.
You want to see some marquee television. We've been waiting a little while for another tournament to watch. That's what you'd like to see. The other side of it is I'd love to see Mickey against Vitaliy. that would be fun for me.
Vitaliy is certainly a guy you can't sleep on. Not right now. Match number 4, Mike, you got John Moore versus Ruslan. I'll be honest with you, Mike. I'm not, I'm excited to see Ruslan be back. And I know it's been about at least a good 5 years since we've seen him, that I can think of anyway.
Yeah, he popped up in something. He popped in something the second half of last year, I thought, and was gone in a hurry. I can't remember what it was, but good to see him. Good to see his name in there again. I have no idea what kind of shape he's in right now. And John Moore is, always steady.
John's had experience playing in this event, but I feel like that's the only part where you can kind of give him a bit of an edge here.
Right.
You haven't known John to do very well in these tournaments before that he's entered into when it comes to the Bigfoot. But Rouston's got a lot of question marks, and so I guess you'll probably favor John. Maybe, I don't know.
I would definitely favor John just by the fact that John doesn't do particularly well in the lot of these, but he's usually not like first guy out. But and I think just by the fact that we see him play a lot more open, a lot more often, to me would make him a definite favorite in the match. You really don't have anything to base Ruslan on, right?
No, I mean you have no leg to stand on when it comes to what kind of game shape that he's in, Mike. So there's a lot of question marks for what's his Q action like? How's his break doing? How's he going to perform with that kind of pressure? I mean, you have no idea really anything. John, I know he's just switching Q companies as well. So how is that going to go and play into his performance? I know he didn't have the deepest of runs when it comes to Turning Stone. So a lot of question marks when it comes to both guys. Josh has got to be loving that spot, but you better handle your business when it comes to Jeff first. And then from there, you kind of like, you're kind of just waiting for that Josh versus Mickey type matchup for the semifinal. At least when it comes to the top side of the bracket, Mike. Down below, you got.
Yeah, well, you also have Lee Van in the top half too.
Excuse me.
He could.
Yeah. No, Lee Van can chop anyone down. I don't mean to overlook him in recapping there. Certainly a threat, and who's ever going to face him is going to have their hands full, no doubt. On the bottom side of the bracket, Mike, you start off with a real interesting matchup for me: Gerson versus SVB, Mike.
Yeah, Gerson stays in the game just because it's alternate break.
What I've told this story a few times, Mike, on how I got introduced to Gerson, and it was with a buddy of mine from Mexico. And this is, I want to say maybe like 4 years ago, something like that. And so I'm there at the CSI Expo, and a buddy of mine was coming up to me, and Gerson was going to play Shane. And this is during the World 10 Ball. And he says, Mike, how many games can I get, betting on Gerson? And I think they're racing to maybe 8 or 9, somewhere around there for the World 10 Ball. And I said, oh, you got 2 games against Shane for sure. I never heard of Gerson. I couldn't point him out in a lineup. Gerson wins outright. I get heisted, right? Because I wanted to bet a pretty good amount. Got robbed. Next round, I think he's playing James Aranis. And this is when James was like Mr. 10 Ball, And my buddy comes up to me again, Mike, how many games can I get betting on Gerson against James? And I'm like, but it's James, right? I'm like, you got 2 games again. Gerson wins outright. Again, I get heisted for a 3rd time. Finally, the next round, it's Josh Filler against Gerson. My buddy comes up to me and I says, get the fuck away from me. I don't want to bet anymore. Yeah, because I know what you're going to ask for. And he still needed weight because it's Josh, right? And but I didn't want to give it because I got heisted the previous 2 rounds. And so I said, you know what? I'll give you a game just because I really wanted to get something going for that matchup. And I want to say it was like 4 or 5 games in, Gerson was up like 4-1 on Josh. And I'm about ready to go jump off the building. You know what I mean? Like I was on the top floor at the Rio, ready to just jump right off. Josh came back and won that matchup, but it wasn't easy. Gerson's a severely underrated player in general, not just a Latin American player. We don't get to really see him a whole lot. I know he's kind of caught up in like politics and federations to some extent. We don't really shed a whole lot of light when it comes to Latin American community and what effect that everything that's gone on with WPA and federations has had on those players. And so it's great to see Gerson be back. It's surprising to see him play in this tournament because I've never seen him play Bigfoot before. But when it comes to like, he kind of reminds me of, I don't know if I can even say it. He kind of reminds me of like a Dennis in the sense of just having a ton of heart, Mike. and of just
he
being
does.
like that guy you can't count out because he's going to grind and will his way to at least being in the match. And for sure, alternate break is going to go in favor, not favor Gerson, but at least keep him more in it because Shane is the type of guy who Shane likes to
Yeah,
run. Shane likes to punch you over and over
right,
and over and over and over again. And that's his style of play. And so anytime you have alternate break, Shane can't really get that momentum that he's used to getting in matches.
right.
But SVB, I think I want to say out of the last 4 Bigfoots, SVB's won 3 of them. So if that gives you any indication as to what his consistency is like, and I know he's Captain America and all these things. I want to say Josh picked him apart last year.
Kept
What's
10 ball
that?
for sure. Yeah, he's Captain 10 ball
Yeah,
for sure.
way before he was Captain 9 ball, he was Captain 10 ball. No doubt about it. And so, but if I'm thinking about in this first round of potential traps, this would certainly fall in that category, Mike. And it's really just given the
Yeah,
respect for Gerson that I feel like he's earned over the course of his career. I saw him post a live video. He looks like he's in great shape. And so I don't know where his game's at. I don't know how he's been hitting the
kind of
ball.
he has that demeanor too, and that way around the table. And players know coming in, this annoying little guy is not going to be easy to shake.
Yeah.
And when you get that in your head going in, he's already got a game on you, right? And Gerson just plays that way. He just
Does.
he just kind of grinds and doesn't go away, and he's pesky.
He's got this like Omar Al-Shaheen style of play where he's super offensive. He knows how to play one pocket, but his one pocket game is just send the balls down table, and that's the way that he plays. It's kind of brutal to watch.
Extend the game.
That's it.
What
Yeah.
That's what his MO is on a lot of stuff. Just extend the game, and maybe you'll get your chance.
Matter of fact, I remember, and I'm sure you remember now once I bring it up, but the last time I saw Gerson play one pocket was against Efren, and I'll never forget it. It was at Derby City, and I'm on one side of the venue, and the match is on that side, and all I see is Pinozzo waiting to get his Efren interview, doing this number, trying to find out what the damn ball is, what the score is.
I was pissed. It dragged on.
It was
forever.
the longest match in history, for sure.
God, it was brutal. But I got my interview.
It was. You did.
And it came out good.
It was a great story watching Efren go deep in that one pocket tournament. Look, you don't know what you're going to get when it comes to Gerson. Like I said, you're going to get fight. You're going to get heart. He can have spots where he can have a big 10 ball break. Like I said, his style of play is very like Omar Al-Shaheen in that he just he puts a lot of body English in the ball and, really likes to fire. I don't know how well he's going to do with the polished balls and the 10-foot table and all those things, but it's going to be a great matchup. It's the first one on deck tomorrow morning, so make sure and stay tuned for that one. The match right below it, Mike, you got...
I see Roberto
beat Mickey?
10-8. Yep.
Wow, he came back then because he was down, I want to say, like 7-5. Well,
yeah, we put
now you never know.
Put the Dominic Dunn on Mickey Krause talking about him, and that was the end of that.
Now you got a potential. Let me see here. Let me back up this bracket here. So I guess you got a potential for an all Filipino matchup up top, Mike, between Levan and
Levan
and Roberto.
Possibly.
Yeah, so that should be kind of interesting. Right below SVB and Gerson, you got Tyler Styer versus Moritz Neuhausen. You're really big on Moritz this year, Mike, for a lot of different reasons. Give me your thoughts on this matchup.
I just think Moritz is ready to break out. Whether he wins Bigfoot, that's a stretch, but Moritz is a solid player who's really kind of feeling. I think he has the sense that he's right there now with everybody. So Tyler, although comes in with a huge break, so it's I think it'll actually be a pretty good match.
I think it's a great matchup, Mike. I mean, I think it's pretty close to even. You got to really like you mentioned, Tyler's break in this format. although we've never seen him play Bigfoot before, just in general, his 10 ball break has always been
Big.
pretty phenomenal, actually, and severely underrated. I think probably, a top 5 10 ball break. But again, he's been Mr. 9 ball over the last couple of years. So Moritz, look, this guy can go deep and he can beat anyone. But I'm just not sure, like, if we're gonna get, like, what gear we're gonna get from Moritz, and so he can punish you, he can run over you, but he just seems to kind of be more in that, like, fourth gear than, like, putting his foot on the gas, so to speak, in whenever he's playing. So I don't know, Mike. We'll see.
Yeah, good matchup.
For sure, a good matchup. I'm either way. I love the idea of SVB versus Tyler. I love the idea of SVB versus Moritz. There's a lot of different storylines there for sure.
Yeah.
And we'll see how it plays out tomorrow. I guess I would probably take Tyler in that matchup, but I wouldn't bet the farm on it. That's for sure, Mike. So down below, you got Pius against Fedor. Fedor's always a threat in the Bigfoot, Mike. We know that he's had success before. We know he's like a absolutely intimidating player in everything that he plays. But Pius is a sleeper, Mike, and he can chop you down as well.
Yeah, Pius had some good runs at Derby, so I'd love to see him do well here at this this week, because we both like him a lot as a player and as a kid. So kind of waiting for him to break through as well. So whether it's on the Bigfoot 10 ball against Fedor, that's a big ask. But we like his game, and it could be a pretty entertaining match.
Outside of that SVB versus Gerson matchup, I guess this would be, a potential sleeper as well. Pius is going to have to play perfect pool, and anyone who is going to beat Fedor at Derby City is going to have to play perfect pool, because he's that type of kid. But a couple things, we haven't seen Fedor break a lot of 10 balls since SVB match. He doesn't play the game a ton. Obviously, the no jump cues is going to balance it out, because if jump cues were allowed, you would have really liked Fedor, because he's so dialed in when it comes to that short stick. You know what I mean? So the value of a safety play and making good decisions is going to be weighted a lot more. And Pius can move. He's been around D. Atkins. He spent some time here in the States. He knows the game of one pocket. He knows the value in making smart choices. And like a lot of the Europeans, he's not in any rush, and so he's going to have all these things kind of come together for a great all-around game in order to beat Fedor. It's a tough ask, and Fedor's for sure a favorite here in this matchup. Yeah. It can be done. I'm just not sure if it will be done. But if anyone can do it who's, got a ton of heart, I would certainly put Pius in that category. He went deep last year, like I mentioned, in the 9 ball. I don't know if I've ever seen him play Bigfoot, though, Mike. Maybe I'm mistaken, but I want to say this might be his first time.
I don't think so. Yeah, it's kind of new.
A guy who, yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, but in theory, he's got all the pieces that can come together to do well. We just got to see if it will come together or not. So, down below, you got the Lion, the guy with the most heart, it seems like, out of anyone on earth, versus Vitaliy. And boy, Mike, I'll tell you what, there's not a lot of guys who are playing as good a pool right now. Maybe Mickey, just as far as whenever we do see him play, than Vitaliy.
Yeah, no, he's a great player. He's another one who's getting ready to bust out if he can just get his visa issues in order and start traveling a little more. But when the opportunity comes in the U.S., he's chomping at the bit to show his stuff. Alternate break, 10 ball, Bigfoot table, you got, I would think that he's a favorite over Alex.
Yeah, I mean, look, we've never seen Vitaliy play in Bigfoot, but then again, we haven't seen Alex have a ton of success in Bigfoot either.
Right.
We mentioned before, when it comes to other players, the importance of moving, and there's no guy who can move better than um, than
Right.
Alex. You know what I mean? And so, but Vitaliy hanging around Fedor the way that he has, everything's kind of rubbed off on him. It seems like, Mike, and the guy is just hitting on all gears right now. You can't really,
Yeah, no, he's a great
yeah,
player.
no, for sure, and you can't poke too many holes in his game. And every time you think like, okay, well, this stage is too big for him, or the matchup is too big for him, Vitaliy always steps up, and he's played a lot tougher of opponents than Alex in this spot. Now, the potential matchup between him and Fedor is really intriguing if it comes to fruition, in that next round. But given the way that everything's kind of been going,
I think Vitaliy really kind of the Puerto Rico event really is going to do a lot for him.
As far as like busting the dam open, you mean?
I don't know about busting it open, but just his confidence and his, ability to go deep in a higher profile event and be able to fade it. So, I think that event was something that he really needed. And I think that'll really help him going forward. Because, like I said, he's stuck here in the U.S. He doesn't get many of these opportunities, right? He gets the U.S. Open, he gets the International, he gets Puerto Rico, he gets Derby. That's pretty much it as far as facing all the big hitters. So for him to get that opportunity and have won like he did in Puerto Rico, that's a big deal.
It's massive, Mike, and I agree with you when it comes to what that'll do for his confidence. And we've seen over, Texas Open wins and things like that where he can beat the likes of Shane and Tyler. Last year, he went deep in the Derby. I want to say he got like top 5 in the 9-ball. I mean, look, the guy's pace of play is brutal at times. I'll be honest with you. I mean, that's the only part of his game where I struggle because he can be a little bit slow. And so how will that TV table play into effect? Because you're going to be on a shot clock. We'll see. But then again, we also said that about Federer in years past, and we've seen him kind of get through that as well. So I don't know, Mike. I'm hoping we get a Vitaliy versus Federer matchup. I certainly like Vitaliy over Alex, but we'll see. It's like you can never count out Alex, but he's up against it when it comes to Vitaliy because that kid over the last year, when he does get the opportunity, he steps up. We saw it at the U.S. Open, in whenever I think he was in the top, semifinal, maybe a final late at least. And so you kind of you don't get to see him play in the Europeans or in the Hanoi or, in these bigger events. You don't get to see him play in the World Pool Masters. But I tell you what, Mike, for my money over the last year, I certainly feel like he's in that top 16 players on earth kind of category, Mike. And I mean like anybody on earth.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, who do you like winning the Derby City Bigfoot?
I'm not going to say Shane.
Oh, come on, Mike. Well, who are you going to go with? You're going to go with Fedor then, I'm sure.
Well, I mean, who isn't going to go with either Fedor, Shane, or Josh? I mean, if you have to stick your neck out there, you're going one of those places. But I'll take a flyer on Lee Van.
Wow, you're going up top and you're taking Lee Van. Okay, that's really unPinozo-like of you.
Well, you know what? New year.
2025. I like it. Yeah. Look, I'm probably going up top as well, but
go against my judgment every time.
Well, it may pay off in this one, Mike. You never know because Lee Van is that type of player, And
because we did so well going with my judgment last year.
Well, that's true. That's absolutely true. I like up top as well, Mike, but I'm going with that usual suspect, and it's hard to bet against Josh. It really is. It's super difficult to say that someone's going to beat him. I know he's not, the best breaker in 10-ball and all this and that, but he figures out a way, Mike. And I feel like he will be really inspired in this event. I feel like he's going to be an absolute menace in every tournament that he enters into, let alone the fact that he is defending champion and all that. And listen, if you can fade Lee Van, that side of the bracket is pretty juicy for Josh, and I'm not trying to disrespect Jeff here in that first round matchup for Josh, but like relative to the draw of Shane or Fedor, it's like, man, you really got to like Josh on that side. So,
Yeah,
um,
he definitely a favorite on that side, especially now with Mickey out right away.
yeah.
It becomes even sportier. So,
What are some other things you're looking forward to in Derby City, Mike, for the next 10, 12 days?
yeah, I'm looking forward to the one packet.
Really?
I'm not a huge one packet. Yeah, I'm not a huge one packet guy, but I like the guys who are there playing. I just
Derby one pocket is the nuts. It really is. And seeing a guy like Francisco back is great. We've certainly missed him in every game, right? I would love to see him in Bigfoot as well. I want to say the last time we saw him play was against Jason, who, again, I'm surprised he's not playing Bigfoot, but he gave Jason all he can handle with a Hill matchup that was just epic a few years ago. But we know Bustamante plays Banks well. You know he plays one pocket well. I'm like you, Mike, where I love good stories. And so seeing Francisco potentially, or at least have the opportunity to make a run, is always going to be cool, because you got this like
be kind of effort-esque,
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, you got these like young Europeans who have taken over the sport, and there's some guys who just wait a minute, I'm still here, and you better put some respect on my name. And Francisco is certainly in that category. So for that alone, I'm excited to see it. And the same with Banks. Like, look, at the beginning, it's kind of brutal when you have these terrible players match up, and it drags on the tournament and all that. But I mean, look, all these players are way better than me. I want to say that first off, but I just mean in terms of like, the lambs going out to be slaughtered, and so, but as you get these better matchups that are going to come up, it ends up being just a great tournament in Banks as well, because you have, specialists like a Justin Hall or a Tony or Bustamante, like I mentioned. You got underrated guys like maybe a Mickey who might surprise some people. Fedor, who always does well in Banks, Shane, Josh, so many guys who you can, put some money on. And so, and then you got these like Louisville guys, like a Lou DeMarco comes to mind, or, it's, you can really go in a wide range when it comes to Banks. One pocket's kind of similar, especially when, you have 4.5-inch pockets. I feel like that just opens up the game quite a bit. Can we see another run from like an Evan Lunda type player, or, someone like that? You never know. But it's Derby, Mike, and it's going to be all games nonstop, 24 hours a day. Lord help me. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be great, but it's going to be a grind.
It'll be over by Sunday.
Will it be over by Sunday, Mike? Do you think it'll be over by Sunday? I feel like that's an even money bet.
All the finals are supposed to be on one day, right? So,
look, in theory, they've made changes, and that's all you can like. Well, not in theory, they have made changes that should make for a better experience, which is great. Whether or not it'll work out the way that it's planned remains to be seen. I'm optimistic until otherwise, but man, Derby City has its moments where it's just like, fuck, man, this is so tough. Like, this is so tough.
Master of the Table isn't. No one's going to know anything about Master of the Table till the last day.
Yeah, that makes it great too.
Yeah,
that makes it great as well.
I'll be on the line on the last day, Master of the Table.
If you were to take Fedor versus the field in Master of the Table, who are you going with?
Field.
Yeah, from an odds standpoint, you have to. You have to. Yeah.
There's some good players out there who play a lot of these games pretty well.
Yeah. Look, I want to see. For me, the story of the tournament is going to be Josh. Because of everything that's gone on, seeing him back. Look, I know the international is the international, but like it's different.
You said that, and I want to see Josh play well, and I want to see him go deep, and I want to see the Josh we've seen. But he had that chip on his shoulder when he went down to Florida and didn't do so well. He had that chip on his shoulder when he went and played in the World 8-Ball and didn't do so well. So
no, but I think it was.
I haven't seen Josh do Josh things in a few months. It's been since November, whatever, that we've seen Josh do anything that was since October, since you've seen Josh do something Josh-like. So be interested to see when he's going to get that fire back and that shot back and whatever. I mean, he hasn't been a huge, losing streak, but again, didn't play Hanoi, didn't really turn up much in the World 8 ball, and didn't he went relatively deep in international. I think he was final 8 or final 4, but didn't get there. Yeah, be interesting to see. I want to see him do well.
It's a good point for sure, Mike, and I get it. I think and maybe I'm just going way too deep here, but I feel like maybe there was some maybe mental things when it comes to, first time out kind of vibe when it comes to international after everything,
Yeah.
I think the kid is got a gear unlike any other. And we saw it last year.
Yeah, so he's still the best player in the world.
Until proven otherwise,
Right.
And I know you can make that conversation for, SVB and Fedor and a couple of others, or really just those two, I guess you would say, maybe from an all around standpoint. But
right.
It's like his stock is still way too high, just given how steady that he's been from an elite level over the last 5 years. And so I know we haven't seen him do Josh things over the last few months, and it's a fair point, but I'm super high on this guy's stock, and so because look, he's got a lot of banners. He's got a lot of experience there. He plays every game extremely well.
He's 27.
He's what?
He's 27. We're not talking, he's already had all these great years. I mean, he's 27. He's, his best years might still be ahead of him.
That's scary.
Yeah.
That's absolutely scary to think about. But this is where you only get to see him play these games like a Bigfoot or a One Pocket or a Banks. And so, I think there's a lot of fans who want to see him go out to.
You're not going to see Josh in Louisiana?
That's what I was about to say, Mike. A lot of fans want to see him go play Louisiana because it's a big payday. It'll really juice up the action. It's a big, it's a lot of money to be won. And we know whenever we do get to see him play One Pocket, he's a special kind of talent. Now it's a different environment out there for sure, but look, we want to see where he stacks up in every game, and Derby City is a place to see it. Derby City is a place to see him play any and everything, and you get to see these guys. You get to have great stories like a Tony winning his banner, or Justin Hall having heartbreak, in another final, or a Billy Thorpe winning a One Pocket title, or Efren going deep in One Pocket. Labutis in a final. I mean, there's so many things. Levans won Derby City before. The last major that Sky won was Derby City, So it's like you always get something pretty special from this tournament. And although it's a grind, I'm still looking forward, I guess, to going to Derby City, Mike. So
it sounds like you're getting in the car, buddy.
Actually, I probably am, to tell you the truth. So the girls are leaving today. And then I'm probably hitting the road, if I'm being honest with you.
It's going to be chilly in the Midwest. I know our high here on Monday is going to be 1. So you better I think you're going to have to put some sleeves on that Nike shirt, buddy.
I'll bring a hoodie, and I'll be indoors, and I'm going to go walk that corridor and think about my demise like I always do, and that great food out of the casino. And hope that I can get out for a good meal or two while I'm out there. But anyhow, we'll have more updates while I'm out there. We're going to have more content for the show while we're out there and for the page. So make sure and keep your notifications on. Panozzo, it's always a pleasure.
We will talk Matchroom soon.
Are we going to talk schedule and all that coming up, Mike?
Yeah, why don't we?
Okay, what's your availability like?
I got questions.
Do you now? Okay. Are you around tomorrow? Because if I'm free tomorrow,
I'm around tomorrow. I'll be in the office all day.
Keep your